Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here then hi, my name is Miss Paris and on my channel you can find tips, advice and information all about teaching as well as videos about my own personal journey. So if that's something that might interest you then please do consider checking out some of my previous videos and subscribing to my channel. Now I have a whole playlist on my channel that is around the teacher training application. So I have loads of videos on interviews and also personal statements. However, this year there has been an update to how you apply for teacher training as well as personal statements. Now, I haven't seen any videos about this on YouTube and I thought I would cover it here for anyone that hasn't yet started their application or for anyone that might be coming from abroad that doesn't really know how to apply or how to get onto the teacher training route in the UK. So what I'm going to do is I have signed up with another email address. Obviously I'm not going to submit this because I am a qualified teacher, but I'm just going to briefly show you the ropes of what you have to do and also show you the updates for the personal statements. Now, if you have already watched my video about personal statements, a lot of the ideas and the tips are still applicable, but it's the layout that has changed, which might consequently change the structure. Now, I do also provide one-to-one support for personal statements, which I will leave a description about in the video. There's a post that you can read or a video that you can watch, whichever you prefer. But yes, I thought I would go through that for you today because applications opened in October, but the deadline is way into 2022 for this academic year. So do not stress, you still have plenty of time. I'm just a bit late on making this video, so let's get into it. Okay, so the first thing you're going to do, if you don't remember the link by heart or anything like that, don't panic, just put apply for teacher training. And then there are some above at the top, there's get into teaching and now teach, but I would scroll down to the gov.uk one. And when you open it up, it will look like this. Now, obviously, I've already made an account just to make things quicker, but you would press start now. It would ask you details to log on and such, and then it would send an email to whatever email you have registered with, asking you to verify yourself. So fairly easy. So it would give you something like this: check your email, we sent you an email, click on the link to confirm your address and return to the service. So then you would click on it like I am doing here, and then you just say continue. Okay, now your application last saved on 17th of October. That's how long I've been meaning to do this video. Whoops. So there's different parts to your application. First of all, you've got the personal details, which if I just briefly show you, it's just personal information, first name, last name, date of birth, and then it will just continue through questions like this. You've also got contact information, so you've got phone number, email, address, and afterwards you've got questions like where do you live, obviously you would just put the answer, what is your address, and you would continue so on and so forth. You don't need me to show you all of that. Going back to the main page of your application, so you've got your personal details and then you've got your courses. Now when it says you can apply for up to 3 courses, this can seem daunting if you haven't done your research yet or you don't know what is available in your area. So if you press choose your courses, they actually give you the option of yes, I know where I want to apply, or no, I need to find a course. So let's say, I don't know, for example, no, I need to find a course. Okay, so search for courses near you on Find Graduate Teacher Training. Now this is really helpful, especially if you are relocating or you want to find somewhere kind of different or outside of your current living area. You can do it by city, town or postcode, across England, or by school, university. So if you've heard that X university is really good for teacher training, it's ranking one of the best in the UK, and you want to go near there, or you even want to go there, then you have an option to select that university and then also find 2 extra options as backup choices in that area as well, which I think is a really, really good feature. Unless there's like really none in your area, I would always try and pick all 3, because depending on when you're applying, you never know A, if they're going to fill up really quickly, B, they might not accept you for your interview, and if you haven't put backup choices then suddenly you're stuck and you have to redo things. So I'd always do that in case. Also, you never know, you might get different feelings for different providers once you've gone to an interview, and although that might have been your first choice, after an interview you might think actually I kind of preferred the vibe and the staff from the second one. So keep your options open. Now another thing to think about is that some providers have less spaces than others, so it's really important to, if you know you want to go to one that's quite competitive to get in early. The reason that I had to relocate for my teacher training is because I decided in April that I wanted to, you know, become a teacher, and I formally put it into, you know, UCAS and did all of that process. But the teacher providers near me, they all did their interviews in October, November. So they were all booked up before I even had a space. And like I said, with those 3 courses, I put 3 different courses in, and although they accepted applications at the time, by the time I, you know, was anywhere near an interview process, I only got 1 interview because the other 2 were fully booked. So although they let me put it on UCAS, they never actually had places, or they interviewed before me, got places, and then just had to not give me a place. And then afterwards, as you can see, we just have a summary of all the places. You can say, yes, I have completed this section, or no, I'll come back to it later if you still require to do some research. Now, references, this is really important because you need to have your references done and submitted before you can formally submit your application. It's not just submit the applications, the references come back to you ASAP. So if you already have an idea of references that you're going to ask, I would ask them before you even start this. So it gives them time to, you know, write it, get back to you with it, and also it kind of prevents you from having extra waiting time more than is necessary. Okay, now afterwards, you need to fill in these qualifications, so English, maths, science, A-level and other qualifications, degree, etc. All really important. Primary, they are more specific on the science GCSEs. You do need to get a certain grade. I want to say at least a C, otherwise you can't, you know, you need to have that before you go on to a primary PGCE. I don't think there's the same limitation for secondary, unless of course you want to be a secondary school science teacher. Work experience. It's split into work history and unpaid experience. So there you go, yes, let's put yes, because for me it would be a yes. Enter all your jobs, a job. And I think this is really nice because there's a lot of work, there's a lot of work and jobs out there that have skills that are transferable to teaching, even if it's not related to education. So I think it's really nice that you have the opportunity to write this in. So you've got name of employer, role, full-time or part-time, you know, these details, you can read it. And then you would save and continue. I'm just going to do this quickly for you guys. There we go. And then you can just add any others. And then every single time it will ask you, have you completed the section, or no, I'll come back to it later. The other part of the work experience was about unpaid experience. So this is where you can really show off anything regarding education. So one-off observations, even if you read in schools, if you helped out at an after-school club, you know, being a governor, being in the PTA if you are a parent already, those kind of things are really good. And then it would just ask you details as well. So I'm not going to go through that. Personal statement. Now, this is the big bit. This is what has changed. It used to be a full page, and you would just write everything in there. So unless you found some kind of structure for your personal statement, or you took tips from the internet, or you researched this, you could just write a whole page, as good a quality or not. But now they have split it up into 2 sections, probably to make it easier for people to process, people to read. So the first section is why you want to teach. And so this is where you need to explain why you want to be a teacher. And it's quite good because it makes people really reflect on what they want and why this is the job for them. Yeah, so as you can see, there's bullet points here, like what inspired you to apply, your understanding of the demands and rewards of teaching. Now for this, I would recommend not just saying what the roles are, or, you know, what teachers have to do, because the reader, the people reading this application, they know what teachers have to do. But show in your text that you understand the demands. I hope that makes sense. So rather than saying something like, teachers have to make lesson plans and deliver effective lessons, you could say that upon my observation of a Year 2 classroom in 2019 or whatever, I could see from the enthusiasm of the pupils that the teacher had spent a lot of time making her or his lesson engaging and really considering the different components involved in an effective lesson. Something like that, you know, and obviously I've kind of made that up on the spot. If you have time to write sentences nicely, you know, it goes a lot smoother. The personal qualities that would make you a good teacher, Now obviously you should know this about yourself. Try and steer away from the cliches. I mean, it's easy to say you're passionate and you're caring, but hopefully everyone applying for a teacher training are passionate and caring. Really try and think outside of that box. How you could contribute to a school outside of the classroom. For this, I would really think about what things make you special. Are you good at crafts? Are you really sporty? Do you have a certain passion that's been, you know, created as a result of your degree? Is there something from your prior work experience, like if you're a career changer, that you're really passionate about? Maybe you're a nurse and so suddenly you are really, really enthusiastic about healthy eating, and so you would love to, you know, create workshops for children in different year groups about healthy eating. Or maybe you would like to run a cookery club where you can inspire children to make healthier food choices or show them how to make fruit salads and healthy things like that. You know, really think about what makes you stand out. Any experience you have working with children and what you learnt. So again, try to think outside of the box with this one. Obviously detail your experience, but you don't just want to say, when I was reading with children, I found out that it was really important for them to practice their reading. Like, yeah, that's why you're reading with them. You know what I mean? Like, be clear on what you learned. So you could say, when reading with children, I found that it was really important to allow them to try and decode words themselves before giving them prompts. Or I realised it was very important for children to understand the text they were reading, because when I would ask them follow-up questions or comprehension questions, I realised that sometimes they weren't actually understanding the text that they were reading. And as I realised that, I developed some strategies on how to support them, such as that kind of thing. You know, you're being specific and not generic. So obviously it's a skill you know they need. You know children need to know comprehension skills, but you've gone about it in a different way because you have emphasised the fact that you discovered that while doing your experience, while doing something practical. Your thoughts on children's wellbeing and the education system. Now this is actually a really interesting one. I'm kind of glad that they've spoken about this, because mindfulness and things like that, they're so important at the moment. As a little hint, if you have gotten this far into the video, so I don't know, a little thing that you might find helpful is I would definitely research the zones of regulation. I think that's a really, really important one. It's used a lot in special educational needs settings and schools, and I think it's becoming more and more trendy to refer to in classrooms, and it really helps with children's emotional literacy. So I would just put that in there just for you to have a look at if you don't already know about it. So that's the first section. The second section is about your suitability to teach a subject or age group. Now, of course, if you are applying for secondary school teaching, you need to make sure that you are on top of your subject knowledge and you understand, you know, why you want to teach that and what makes you suitable to actually teach that subject. Again, if you're applying for primary teacher training, this is what it says here. Say why you'd like to teach this age group. If you're applying for a primary course with subject specialism, or you're particularly interested in certain primary subjects, you can also talk about that. Things to include: any relevant work experience. Obviously, I wouldn't repeat what you said in the previous section. You also have to talk about your degree and your degree modules. Now, this is a really good part to emphasize, especially for secondary, like why you're enthusiastic about that subject, what you found particularly interesting. If you're in primary and you did anything on like childhood development, it's important not just to say what you learned in that module, but how you could apply it to the classroom. And again, link it to the whole section on your suitability. Your other relevant qualifications, such as A-levels, any relevant skills, interests or achievements. Now, this is another nice way to make you stand out. Try and make it linked to what you're teaching and your suitability, but we can make links in many different ways. You know, even if it's Duke of Edinburgh Gold, or you got an achievement for something specific in university, things like that. You know, it's really difficult without thinking of specific examples in the moment. You know your background, you know your experience, and when I do coaching calls, I really like dissect everything, dissect the ins and outs of your motivation, your background, you know, your experience. And sometimes people come to me and they're like, I don't know how my experience has anything to do with teaching, but I know I really want to do teaching. So we really have to delve in deep and then we find suddenly loads of links that we didn't even think about before. So that's always a really interesting one, you know, when you get to know people one-to-one, it's lovely. And then finally, your understanding of the national curriculum. Now, if you're from abroad and you don't really know much about the education system, we have a national curriculum that you can easily just access online. If you type in the national curriculum, it comes up as a huge PDF. But if you are wanting to apply for specific year groups, or just primary, for example, generically, you can just have a skim through to help you. Okay, and then the last ones, you can just see adjustments, ask for support if you're disabled, interview needs, and safeguarding to clear any safeguarding issues. Then it's just a matter of checking and submitting your application. So I hope that this run through helps. I know that it's quite a new system. It used to be on UCAS, so even I had to familiarise myself with it beforehand. But if this helped you, then please don't forget to like this video, share it, tag anyone you know that is applying to teacher training, or, you know, share it even, and don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you soon. Bye!